Demon Slayer is one of those shows that's one in a million. The fact that it's a shonen and it isn't at the same time just absolutely blows me away. Each and almost every one of the characters are built up and are likable in their own ways. You like a stoic good boy who always saves the day and is a humanitarian? Boom, Tanjiro. You like soft boys that cry a lot? Boom, Zenitsu. Maybe even a little bit of insanity in your life? I got you, Inosuke. Anyways, the manga recently ended to mixed reactions. Luckily for the writer, I was one of the few that very much enjoyed the satisfying conclusion to the story, and I'm here now to talk about character design and the themes of Demon Slayer, maybe even a little bit of art analysis. Buckle up, and as always, there will be spoilers.
傷つけさせない。きっとネスコを人間に戻す。絶対に治します。治らない。鬼になったら人間に戻ることはない。探す。必ず方法を見つけるから。殺さないでくれ。家族を殺したやつを見つけ出すから。
The story and characters of Demon Slayer divulges from the usual shonen path of character progression and progression in general. While many normal shonen shows have the character start as a nobody who eventually claws his way to the top, like the fanatic Deku or the needlessly optimistic Asta, we only see a bit of Tanjiro's training. The start is fairly simple. Tanjiro's younger sister is turned into a monster and his family is killed while he is away by a mysterious demon. He tries to run into the city with her and alert the others before he is stopped by the supporting male lead heartthrob, Giyu. Every shonen show has one. Big deal. Giyu realizes Tanjiro's sister, Nezuko-chan, is really a good and nice demon, and he sends the two on their way to an old man who trained Giyu. Boom. Training montage. Alright, enough of that. We've seen enough of those. So he ends up meeting two ghosts who happen to be the old man Urakodaki's old students, but they died. This is where we get to see the first of really great character design. Before we start, let's just review character design. For instance, here are two high school girls from the same anime. From their looks, can you tell which one is the stubborn and uptight one and which one is the kind character based on looks alone? Time's up. The one on the left is the stubborn one, and the one on the right is the nice one. Could you tell? No? Exactly. This is called bad character design. Not dissing the anime in question, but that's just considered bad character design. Anyways, first up we have the brutish and kind of forceful Sabito. Sabito's orange color palette reflects the symbolism of courage, strength, and utter endurance, which we see a lot of when he helped Tanjiro practice for 2 years. Random interjection, but can we please talk about how insane a 2-year time skip is? It only took Deku maybe like half a year to master most of his skills, but I'm not saying it's a bad thing, it's just this is JoJo Part 1 all over again. Back to the orange guy. Sabito's mask reflects his nature, stern and strong, whereas the kind and gentle Makomo has a smiling mask with pretty flowers adorned on the sides. Also, Makumo's pretty robes and kind face also conveys a very straightforward and kind demeanor from her. Tanjiro eventually graduates by slicing a massive boulder in half, stupefied. Urokodaki tells Tanjiro that he will take care of Nezuko, and Tanjiro heads out to fulfill his goal of becoming a demon slayer. As the final selection mission begins, and it starts in a beautiful but eerie forest, demons are dispatched everywhere, and the possible slayers are tasked with defeating them. Barely any of the kids survive, and Tanjiro must face the massive demon that slayed Makomo and Sabito. This is one of the first moments that we see a moment of morality and peace from Tanjiro to a demon. In this scene, Tanjiro finds an opening and initiates an attack on him, beautifully animated by the mad geniuses at UFO table. As the demon feels cocky about the strength of his neck and its impenetrable armor on it, Tanjiro slices above his neck and kills him instantly. Then we are treated to a very intimate moment that most shonen stories never really get deep into, a villain's nature. This enemy may have just been a roadblock, but the quaint memory it has makes us, the viewers, peek behind the curtain and see the reality of these demons. These aren't destructive beings who view humans as food. They're broken people who are transformed to become monsters against their will. Day breaks, and the survivors are given special demon-slaying blades, ones that would make a swordsmith cry from joy. We're introduced to 3 of them. One boy is one that we will talk about soon. Another is Kanao Suri, a person hailing from the Shinobu bloodline, but not fully. Looking at the design, she also has a butterfly design in mind, like her sisters. Another interesting design choice is her side ponytail as opposed to Shinobu's bun and Kanao's lack of styled hair, symbolizing how each of them walk their own path and are different people. The final boy is Genya, who appears to have a strange power for eating demons and gaining their abilities. His design includes his dirtied appearance, including the fact that he did have a harsh upbringing with Sanemi, the Wind Pillar. His near buzz cut also demonstrates his simplicity towards fights and his brashness. His stern eye structure also shows his coldness towards others. Back to the story, Tanjiro ends up returning and bringing Nezuko with him on his journey, and as he walks along a road one day, he spots one of the boys from the final selection. No, it can't be. It's the legend himself, Zenitsu Agatsuma. Jokes aside, Zenitsu and Inosuke are going to be getting their own segments in this. Besides, they're the only other 2 most important characters in the show. Zenitsu came from humble beginnings, except with a lack of parents, but being the hopeless romantic he was, he gave most of his money to a girl and the girl left him, which left him in massive debt. But one day, a man saved him and took him under his wing, which happened to be the retired Thunder Hashira. He began to learn a lot, but one day he feared training too hard and he climbed up into a tree. He soon got struck by lightning and his hair soon turned yellow, which is a nice segue into his character design. Zenitsu sports a yellow robe over his Demon Slayer coat. Another design aspect is obviously his yellow hair and his stance. Yellow is a color of energy and excitement, which definitely fits Zenitsu's attitude when around women, but yellow is also a color of cowardice and deceit, which indeed fits Zenitsu's theme of shying away from fights with demons or training. Now we're on to the angry boar guy. Inosuke is one of those characters who's so insane that you can't help but fall in love with his character. The madness he conveys in every line is done perfectly by both the sub and the dub voice actor.
Revel in your own death and serve as my catalyst!
Looking at Inosuke's character, he has a simplistic and easy to analyze design, but has some symbolism behind it too. First off, the easy thing to spot is his boar head mask, which was his backstory as he was raised by boars in the mountain, which also conveys his headstrong and rough nature. We get tones like this especially when he fights Tanjiro for the first time and is compared to a wild animal. Another aspect we see is his shirtless and ripped pants attire, which can also be compared to his rugged and dangerous lifestyle, where he doesn't need to fit society's norms for looking presentable. Looking at his dual blades, we see the serrated edges, which is that way because of Inosuke's joy when it comes to the painful suffering of demons by the serrated edges. And the scuffed nature of it still shows that Inosuke favors simplicity and has violent tendencies. Another interesting tidbit about Inosuke is how strange his name is. The Ino part in his name comes from the first part of the word boar in Japanese and is amalgamated into a regular name to create his name. Underneath his mask, however, he's a trap. He has blue to his hair and has green eyes. Another bit that is seen is that he also doesn't have many manners to speak of and often tries to eat with his mouth open and tries to mess with his comrades while eating. Now that the cast is out of the way, it's about time we segue into the main event and explain the morality and storytelling of Demon Slayer and why it's a diamond amongst other shows.
When it comes to those who felt despair and regret from the actions they took as a demon, I will never disrespect them.
This isn't going to be a big section, not because I don't like it, it's just because I found out that the theme was only talked about for a few episodes and was kind of discarded after that. Tanjiro does show his humanitarian beliefs as the show goes on, but as he and his friends slay more demons, we begin to see a pattern. We begin to see that the Demon Slayers aren't much better than the demons, who are also turned humans that lost all their will and control over their life. Another interesting pattern I noticed was the loss involved for the characters to discard their morality and fall into violence against demons. Tanjiro lost his family, Shinobu lost her sister, so did Kanao, Inosuke lost his mother too, but the only one that hasn't is Zenitsu. We all make fun of Zenitsu for being a crybaby, but it's because he's one of the only few characters that still sheds some humanity, unlike the dehumanized demon slayers who bask in the hunt. But anyways, let's delve into some storytelling and why it's a gem. I used to have an issue with Demon Slayer's storytelling, but I could fully say now that it works to the tale's advantage. The way it uses characters and escalates the story creates stakes, not to the speed of Black Clover, or the slow build-up of some Naruto moments, but somewhere in between. The main issue with some of those stories is that Black Clover can't flesh out its villains enough for the audience to connect, and the slow build-up of Naruto can drag on sometimes. But a story like Demon Slayer can find a happy medium and still have us viewers engaged in the storyline but not feel like things are moving too fast. For instance, take the train arc. Sorry anime onlys, but I'm delving into this movie and arc. The entire plot of it only revolved around a demon, but with valuable characters still actively attempting to deal with the threat, and others like Rengoku dying really escalated it, and it came to a satisfying conclusion in the end of the characters making it out alive and continuing to fight for Rengoku's sake. And as for the ending, many took offense to how quickly it ended, but really, would you rather take a story that drags on for too long and has the characters go through the same situations over and over again, or a story that ends off where it promised to end off on? This is where I think Demon Slayer divulges from the norms. It doesn't promise wacky characters in wacky situations and constantly escalating conflict. It promises a story based on one sole fact. Muzan is the strongest demon and has to be slayed, and with his death, it ends off where it promised to end off on. Muzan's defeat and saving the world. And as the future is revealed in that last chapter, we do see the fruits of their labors, and the freed world and the great-great-grandchildren of the heroes living their own life and never needing to know about the truth of the demons that once plagued the earth. This is the future that Shinobu wished for, that Rengoku wished for, that every character who died for the world's sake ever wished for. And that, my friends, is the genius of Demon Slayer. Thank you all for watching. See you guys in the next video.
僕らを